Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel, Monique Speaks and Reactions. So guys, I need for you guys to do me a favor. I need for you guys to like this video. I need you to subscribe to my channel, and I need you to share this video. I've gone down a rabbit hole, and any of you guys who've been rocking with me for some years, I post videos and sometimes I will make them private. If you know me, I've been doing videos in the past before this whole Cassie thing came about, even this Jay-Z's situation, just some things that I've discovered in my own research. I also did some videos about deed theft in Brooklyn, in New York. And I went down that rabbit hole a couple of years ago. I privated those videos. The rabbit hole I went down took me into the world of politics, the police department, and also guardianship and conservatorship. It also took me into the world of deeds and the selling of homes of the elderly. And when I discovered that information, I just shut the videos down and said, Lord, is this what is going on? But the time has come. I need your support. I will put my link to my Cash App in the description box. I've been doing a lot of research, and, getting this information takes hours. You can go to Pacer, you can go to some free subscriptions, but some of this stuff does cost money to look at. Guys, there's been a transfer of wealth over the past probably 40, 50 years. But what I can see is this is going on as a racket and a scam, one of the biggest scams that no one talks about, because what's happening is our, unfortunately, unscrupulous law enforcement, judges, lawyers are a part of this racket, even nurses and doctors, which is unfortunate. This is happening all across the United States. I don't know about the world because I don't know what the world does as far as guardianship. Brooklyn didn't become gentrified by accident. It was purposely done. Property was stolen, grifted, and sold on unassuming people's, noses. There has been a transfer of wealth. Everybody does not gain their property or their wealth by working hard. I always thought the case, but this is personal for me. You see, I'm from Brooklyn, even though I don't live there anymore. I went back some years back and things changed so much. And now that I'm starting to see what was behind the catalyst for this change, we need to do something about it. One of the things that was a catalyst for me to go back and open up those videos and continue my research and to make some phone calls was the Wendy Williams situation and her guardianship and conservatorship. Say what you may. Yes, she gossiped, she talked a lot, and maybe people don't like her. But what you must understand is if this can happen to her, and I'm going to highlight someone else this happened to, it can happen to any of us. And it is continuing to occur. It was really sad for me to hear some other podcasts say, well, yeah, she needs to stay in her conservatorship. And that's best for her. And, people are going by emotion. No, I'm going by research and what is going on. This is a big racket. It's a big scam. It's disgusting. People's lives are being changed right before them, and people are dying destitute, distraught, alone, because they're using the legs of the law to protect themselves. So what I have found, I don't know all the facts in the Wendy Williams case, but I do know there is something that is going on. Anyhow, here's an article. You know how I do. Sometimes you got to go back to go forward. Here's an article from Joe Calderon from April 30th, 2002. These dates are important. There's a newspaper used to be on the stands. If you're from Brooklyn and New York, there used to be newsstands, and the Village Voice used to be in these little boxes, and you had to put money in to get them out. Let's read this article. For years, Brooklyn Supreme Court Judge Leonard Schlotnick handled virtually every case in the borough involving elderly and incompetent wards who had no one else but the judicial system to look out for them. Remember the names. A steady stream of sad cases poured past his bench. It was up to Schlotnick, a veteran jurist of 28 years, to dole out guardianship appointments to lawyers, approve of how they handled the financial affairs of their wards, and generally oversee the well-being of those who could not fend for themselves. I think it's Skolnick, if I'm not mistaken. Few outside Skolnick's courtroom ever paid close attention to what went on inside. Now, a chief clerk in the Brooklyn Guardianship Court, a 32-year veteran, is stepping forward to question a real estate deal involving Skolnick's longtime court clerk. Under the hush-hush arrangement, Skolnick's clerk nabbed an elderly ward's Crown Heights brownstone for well below market value, with the blessing of the judge who retired this year. So let me be clear. This goes back to 2002. I'm reading this to you, and I want you to pay close attention. Brownstones. Go look up any brownstone in Brooklyn, Crown Heights, Bed-Stuy, Park Slope, and they go for millions of dollars. So, the sale, which was also approved by the Office of Court Administration, further calls into question the clubby atmosphere rampant in the Brooklyn judiciary, where Supreme Court Judge Victor Barron stands accused of demanding a $115,000 bribe to sign off on an auto accident settlement involving a brain-damaged infant. I'm going to stop here because the corruption in New York goes deep. As you can see, the stories that I have been doing about the NYPD is deep. This has been going on for decades, probably 40, 50 years, maybe more. It's become so rampant, and people have been allowed to get away with this. People do believe they are above the law. But I want to say something before I proceed. This message I want you to share. Judges, lawyers, nurses, doctors, therapists, people who are in positions of power. A lot of times, people will get into these positions of power to abuse, and they will commit fraud. And I'm here to say, if you are in a position of power, in a trusted position, it is important that you uphold that office. I do believe that a lot of individuals who have abused, manipulated, have done some really unscrupulous things based on the fact that they were in these positions and thought that no one was going to find out. It's not going to last for long. The exposure time is here. My creator is not pleased at all with how things are being done. And a lot of you have gotten away with it, maybe retired, maybe even have been deceased. But what has been done is getting ready to come to light. Not as a result of me, just as a result of God's timing. So my recommendation is to leave these unruly, illegal, corrupt things alone, because all of this stuff is going to come out. the situation with Diddy, it's all going to come out on the internet. So that's all that I have to say. Usually before our creator, which he is such a gentleman, at times he can be a gentleman because he wants us to get on the right track. He will send a warning. And I want you guys who are believers, who may have fallen aside, just go read the account of Nebuchadnezzar. He was a king. That account is for all of us, but especially for those who are in those positions of presidents, judges, lawyers, doctors, nurses. It shows you what happens to those who take their power and abuse it and think that they can get away with it. And for a bit of time, they do. But then there comes a point in time when the Almighty steps in and imposes his judgment that no one, not the district attorney, not the president, no one can stop it. That's about to happen. Okay, so back to this article. So, the Shkolnik case centers on an 85-year-old named Elsie Perry, a retired AT&T secretary who was suffering from early dementia. Now, guys, you know, we are always told go to school, work hard. Well, back in the day, people would work hard. They worked for the telephone company, 9X, Ma Bell, got pensions, and bought property. Well, this person named Elsie Perry, she was a retired secretary, and she was just suffering from early dementia. Her guardian, a lawyer who later served as head of the Brooklyn Bar Association, applied in August 1997 to Judge Shkolnik for permission to sell Perry's two-family home, arguing that cash from the sale was needed to keep Perry from becoming destitute. Perry, though, she collected $731 a month from Social Security and another $400 from her AT&T pension, she was lucid enough to vehemently object to the sale at first, court documents show. And she later appeared on her own behalf in court. So how demented really was she? It is her position that she worked hard to maintain her house over the years, and it is hers. Lynn Terrelong, Perry's guardian, dutifully told Shkolnik. However, we have no money to attend to the expenses of this house. Without ever advertising the property as required by law, Shkolnik signed orders okaying the sale of Perry's home to his courtroom clerk. I'm going to stop and read this again so that we're all clear about how this woman was robbed. And this is going on by judges, attorneys, lawyers. And who else do you go to when you are trying to get out of a conservatorship? You got to go to the people who put you in a conservatorship or guardianship. And if they are getting financially, their palms getting greased and they gain financially from it, there's no need to take you out of guardianship. Everybody's on the payroll, the doctors, the nurses, the whole shebang. I'm reading this again. Without ever advertising Elsie Perry's property, so they didn't advertise it, as required by law, the people who are supposed to hold and upstand the law, they didn't advertise it. He okayed the sale to somebody in his office, the clerk of the court, Roderick Randall, who worked for Shkolnik for 10 years and is still employed by the court system in Brooklyn. I don't know if they're still employed because, again, this article goes back to 2002. So wait a minute. This 85-year-old woman who worked all her life to get her pension, they came and deemed her incapacitated, even though she had all her wherewithal, maybe some, early dementia, early forgetfulness, you know what I mean? and said, no, this is my home. I get a check from Social Security and I get money. So why do I need you guys to come and do this? But her guardian went before the judge and said, no, we don't have enough money to attend to her property. And the judge, being the good judge that he was, and I'm being sarcastic, okayed the sale, did not list it as required by law, but sold it to somebody in his courtroom who worked for him for 10 years. And he was still employed at the Brooklyn courts. So as you can see, this gentrification didn't happen. Some of this happened right there in the courthouse. And it was nothing anybody could do and nothing that we could say because people didn't even know what was going on. Just like he said at the beginning of this article, I'll scroll back up. Skolnick's courtroom, few people outside ever paid attention to what was going on inside. But what was going on inside to me was a travesty. Facing no competition, Roderick Randall, snatched up the brownstone, an 11-room home with 2 baths, for $120,000. Some $50,000 less than the market value. Now, 2000, back then, in this article was written in 2002. Now these brownstones, 11-room, they go for millions. So do you see how this wealth was inadvertently transferred? Now, I don't know if she had any heirs, nieces, nephews, cousins, but this woman didn't have any children. But by way of probate, it should go to family members. Randall was required, it says, it was sold, this 11-room home with 2 baths, for $120,000, $5,000 less than market value set by an independent appraiser, which it probably was lowballed anyway. Under the terms of the sale, Randall was required to let Perry stay in her home as a tenant, charging her $700 a month in rent. She remained there until her death 2 years ago. Do you see how wicked this is? It's her home. You steal it from her. You sell it to the court clerk in your courtroom, and then you go and charge her because you know she gets $700 a month from Social Security, and you charge her to live in her own home. That's wicked. This is what's going on in New York. It's still going on. But again, NYP, everybody is in bed here. It is my opinion that this is a racket. And people know about it, but they don't say anything. And this relates to the Wendy Williams conservatorship, in my opinion. Because when I read you some of these articles and show you some of what has gone on, you'll say, wait a minute. Why isn't anybody saying anything? But see, the difference back then and today is we have social media. And I'm kind of sort of glad that they are turning back on TikTok, because be it via TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, this needs to get out into the public. And that's why I need your help to share this information. So they had this 80-some-odd-year-old woman who worked hard for AT&T as a secretary and bought this property. And maybe she had children. Maybe the child passed away, or maybe her husband preceded her in death. But it was just her. And maybe she had plans to hand it down to her nieces or nephews or whomever to keep it in the family, that generational wealth. But then someone came along and stole it. Because in my thought process, this is thievery using the law. And these judges, people who work in the courthouses, they need to be ashamed of themselves. And I'm hoping that some of these things can be reversed and the rightful owners or heirs can be given back this, and these people thrown out of some of these properties and put on the street or even in jail. I do mean that. By other accounts, the clerk saved a bundle. A year before the 1997 sale, the market value of Perry's home was listed at $157,000, or $37,000 more than what Randall paid. This estimate was filed in a required annual accounting of Perry's assets, records show, located at 1039 Sterling Place, a well-kept block in a middle-class black area. Okay, I want to be very clear. Some of this thievery, as far as gentrification, was by stealing black people's property. I uncovered this when I was looking at the deed theft in Brooklyn. The 3-story house could now fetch between $300 and $350, local realtors say. But now I'll go look up 1039 Sterling Place and we'll go and I'll show you what it's worth. In addition, so this is a black area. How does she even get into the conservatorship? Do these people look up your tax records? See who's living and dead? See if you have any, because on your tax records, you pay your taxes. They ask you if you have children. Do they mark you as a target? I believe they do. In addition, in a move that would make Donald Trump proud, Randall bought the property using only $3,600 of his own money, a mere 3% down payment. The transaction, which occurred when real estate values in the city were genuinely on the upswing, drew the attention of at least one ranking court official who questioned its propriety in writing. So one person looked at this and was like, this don't look right. This is not passing the smell test. And they wrote, if I did this, I would expect to be fired. George Crowley, the chief clerk of Brooklyn's Guardianship Court, told The Voice the whole thing was unethical. He, meaning Randall, shouldn't have been a bidder. Nobody in the clerk of courthouse should be bidding on homes that they're taking from people. The judge shouldn't have allowed it, and the guardian shouldn't have gone along with it. They are all complicit. It's disgusting. It's fraud. And I hope all of you guys go to jail if you're still alive. I don't care if you're 100 years old. They need to put all of y'all up underneath the jail. Crawley, who has feuded with Randall over a promotion he believes Randall didn't deserve. Does this sound like sort of like what's going on with the NYPD, the pay to play? I mean, they had unmarked cars that was supposed to be marked. Now I hear that you could pay for a promotion. People were getting promotions that they shouldn't get. Said that when he found out Skolnick had signed the order, he complained about it to his supervisor. So Crawley saw this and was like, this shouldn't happen. Thomas Kilfoyle, the chief clerk of the Supreme Court civil term, he also refused to process some of the paperwork, which he said brought an angry rebuke from Skolnick. So one guy who was in there didn't want to go along with it, and he didn't want to process. He was like, I'm not being a part of this. He didn't want to process the paperwork, but he got an angry rebuke from the judge. Good for you for standing up. Skolnick was a powerful figure in the Brooklyn courthouse. A former city councilman, Skolnick hailed from the same famed Seneca Democratic Club and served as the presiding justice of the appellate term for the 2nd and 11th judicial districts. Skolnick went to my superior and demanded I be fired. So because Crowley didn't want to process the paperwork, didn't want his hands on it, didn't want no parts, wanted to keep his hand clean, this judge went to his boss and said, you should fire him. I told him, you brought shame and dishonor to this department. So there's still some good people, honest people who are out here. But when you do come forward or you want to do the right thing, as you can see, the retaliation was already there. And he requested that this person be fired. Skolnick could not be reached for comment, even though repeated messages were left for him with the spokesman for the Office of the Court Administration. Crowley felt strongly enough about the impropriety of the real estate deal that he placed a note in Perry's Brooklyn surrogate court file. A highly unusual move for someone in his position. So he knew this was wrong. This doesn't usually happen, but he put a note in her file. and the note read, "Is it appropriate that a court clerk purchase the property?" ? Crowley wrote. This is disgusting. And if any of you reading this, listening to me read this, don't think that this is still going on. How this was able to even happen was all legally done with judges, lawyers, and a guardian. And somebody in that courthouse was able to buy a nice brownstone on Sterling Place of Miss Elsie Perry. And I'm assuming she's black. I don't care if she was black or white or green or whatever. But this is how it's getting done. After the judge approved the sale, Crowley alleges Randall boasted about the deal to his colleagues. He made an announcement that the judge was getting him a house. So yes, people, everybody doesn't work hard to, they go to work, but they don't work hard. You see, they use their connections to get what they want. So it sounds as if he was saying the judge was in on it. And the judge was like, "I'll get you a home. Let's find a target." And the target, in my opinion, was Miss Elsie Perry. 80 some odd years old, retired, no living, maybe her siblings, but maybe she had nieces and nephews. You know what I mean? He made an announcement that the judge was getting him a house. He made that statement to me, said Crowley. In a lengthy voice interview, Randall denied saying any such thing, though he acknowledged that he learned Perry's home was for sale from reading documents in her file, and he defended the purchase. Randall said that he is 95% sure he asked the chief clerk, Kilfoyle, if he could pursue the purchase of the house, and was told he could as long as it was done in open courts. He hired a lawyer and made a bid. Why should I have any less rights than anyone else to buy the house just because I work in the courts? Because it looks wrong and unethical. That's why, said Randall, who acknowledged the sale might look funny, but said it was on the up and up. These people are crooked, in my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. Kilfoyle, however, said he couldn't remember if Randall came to him seeking permission. He said he did recall Crowley's complaint, which he said he reported to Judge Michael Pesci. Remember that name. The chief administrative judge in Brooklyn at that time. These people were all, in my opinion, corrupt. My initial reaction was reported to my superior, Kilfoyle said. So even Kilfoyle thought it was something not on the up and up and reported to his superior, Michael Pesci. What I did was not wrong, Randall said. In terms of appearance or face value, I could understand where you have some concern. But it was done on the up and up to help the woman. My question is, did the woman ask for any help? And how did you get her name to even put her in the guardianship? She wanted to stay in her home. She didn't want to go in a nursing home. How did y'all find her? This way, she was able to stay in her home. Wow. And she was happy. I felt good about it. She was able to live out her last days the way she wanted, but in the home that she bought, that she could have been able to sell her assets or her estate to people in her family. Randall denied that he got any special deal, although he said one reason he was attracted to the house was because of the price. You think? Disgusting, y'all. I was single at the time, Randall said. I needed something to help me with taxes. I'm looking for a house, and the price wasn't unreasonable, and it was a chance to help someone out. The place was no bargain. It needed a lot of work, he said. After the purchase, Randall said he invested $20,000 to $30,000 in new windows and other repairs. Yeah, it's an old home. David Bookstaver, a spokesperson for the Office of Court Administration, which oversees the courts, defended the deal. They all defend each other. An unusual stance given recent moves by Chief Judge Judith Kaye and her number 2 chief administrative judge, Jonathan Lippman, to at least give the appearance of breaking up the insider politics pervading business in the Brooklyn Civil Court. It was Kay and Lippman who, in the wake of Judge Barron's arrest, so you got judges getting arrested, eased Pesh out of his post as administrative judge in favor of Judge Ann Poir, an aide to Lippman, who is seen by many court street lawyers as nothing less than an invading force whose mission is to tighten OCA's grip on the Brooklyn courthouse. These people, let me tell you, all their cronyism, you judges and lawyers, I keep saying to you, and I'm going to say it one more time. Even some of you who are retired, some of the stuff you have done is getting ready to come out to the public. You've gotten property, homes, cars, paid for tuition with stolen assets of innocent people. Terry Long, the Guardian, who pushed for the sale, went on to serve as the president of the Brooklyn Bar Association before dying this year after an illness. So all the people involved end up getting certain positions. But it is the Bar Association who helps those seeking election to the bench. And the sometimes cozy relationships between lawyers active in the bar and judges they appear before has been sharply criticized. Experts question why Terry Long, the Guardian, and Skolnick didn't push for a competitive sale of the home or devise another arrangement, a short of a sale, that would have allowed Perry to draw on the equity in her home without having to give up ownership. But this way, they took the total ownership and then made her pay with her Social Security rent to live in her own home. Obviously, the home must have been paid for. Laws governing the disposal of property owned by incompetents require that the property be advertised for 4 successive weeks by a notice of sale posted conspicuously on the premises and by the publication of a notice of sale advertisement. So they just didn't even abide by the law. They didn't post it for 4 consecutive weeks with a for sale sign, nor did they place it in the newspaper so they could have a competitive sale. But in court papers signed by Judge Skolnick, Terry Long argued successfully that those requirements be waived. So the Guardian said, just waive them, don't post it, and we'll just sell it to somebody in the courthouse. Perry's brownstone was not advertised out of a fear that posting and publication would be an open invitation for vandalism, they said. It could bring danger. Legal experts who advocate for the elderly said judges have a responsibility to look out for the needs of incompetents and avoid even the appearance of impropriety. This whole thing smells stink. It looks bad. And for these narcissists and these sociopaths, in my opinion, to sit up here and say, well, I needed a place to stay and I got permission and it's okay. I was on the up and up. The bottom line is the interests of the incapacitated person have to be protected. Golick said it would be difficult to justify not advertising Perry's property on the open market. One Brooklyn lawyer who specializes in elder law said the deal smells. At the very least, the judge should have recused himself and let another judge sign the order, at least to make it look like. But no, they didn't care because there's nobody checking them. The lawyer also questioned why the house had to be sold at all. And how did they find her? Why sell her house? You could get a reverse mortgage, anything. In an appearance before a different Brooklyn Supreme Court judge, Sebastian Leone, who approved the final terms of the sale, Perry eventually agreed to the sale of her home, but she pleaded with the lawyers to not take advantage of her. This woman, can you imagine? But they did anyway. In her words, I consent to it, but just give me someone to treat me good and don't take all the money from me. Let me live happy till I die. And I quote, those are the words of Elsie Perry. So guys, this article was from the Village Voice. It's called Stealing Home. In my opinion, they stole the home from her. And they did it using the courts legally. She had no say. And it doesn't look like maybe she had any children. Maybe she had some nieces and nephews and maybe some cousins. But they might not have known she was even going through this. And they sold it to somebody who works with the judge. And it was said that Mr. Randall said, I'm going to get a house. The judge is going to get me a house, which leads me to believe that more of these transactions have taken place. Whether with that judge or with others, it is taking place. Guys, please. I'm not really into this whole celebrity thing. This is a human rights situation. Brooklyn did not become gentrified by happenstance. Plenty of people's homes were stolen. The wealth that people have now, millions of dollars, was not earned. They used the arm of the law, in my opinion, to pilfer the hardworking blood, sweat, and tears of people, of black men and women who lived in these areas. Because if you know what I know, a lot of these brownstones were owned by black people. Y'all, it is my belief that what's happening to Wendy Williams happened to Miss Elsie Perry. It happened to Judge John L. Phillips. You probably don't know who he is, but I'm going to let you guys know who he is. This is wicked. It's corrupt. The law was used to cover up. And there's nobody else for you to plead to if the judges who make the final determinations, and it's the judges who, seal some of these things and put gag orders in. In many of these cases that I see, the judge seals these things and put gag orders in for family and friends. So if you speak about it, they take you to court and they know you don't have the money to fight them. This is disgusting. But see the difference now? This article comes from 2002. The internet wasn't popping like it's popping now. Many of you guys who have property that you've stolen, you've renovated, now you're millionaires on the back of people who work for 30, 40 years, using your judgeship, your lawyership, whatever you want to call it. Y'all are about to be exposed, and it's not me doing it. This is just going to come out. So it just behooves you guys to either be on the up and up, drop dime, and I hope some of you guys do end up having those properties given to, if there are any living relatives. I hope these properties are given back to those living relatives, and that some of you guys are prosecuted. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're a retired judge or not. This is disgusting. And it is my belief that this is what's happening to Wendy. It's hard to fight the law. And it was disgusting for me to hear some people say she needs to stay in her guardianship. No, I don't think somebody should stay in a guardianship where what's happening to her is happening. I know you probably will come for me about this other part that I'm saying. And I'm not, she had her issues with her husband, Kelvin, whatever his name is. But if she was still married to him, they wouldn't be able to do this. You see, as long as she was married to Kelvin Hunter, if she was a target, right? She became a target after she divorced him. Now, I know Wendy probably divorced him because of all of the other things that happened in their marriage. But I truly believe that if Kevin was still married to her, this could have never happened. They prey and target people who are single, widowed, maybe not have any children. I believe, yes, maybe her son Kevin, Little Kev, did a lot of DoorDash, but some of these things they trump up to make it look like somebody else is doing something to them. Therefore, they need guardianship, because I've seen the same MO, the same play in many other people's guardianship. So this is not new to Wendy Williams. I believe she was a target. Wendy, who you said something about that didn't like you? Was it Puffy? I don't know. Was it Diddy? Sometimes you can become a target. And she became a target. And I'm not fond of Wells Fargo either. I don't believe she asked for this. It's like if you say something is wrong, anybody can go and petition for you to be to become your guardian. Without your knowledge, without you doing anything. And if the judge is in on it and wants your money or is a part of the racket, they're going to sign it and say you're incapacitated. And they're going to get a doctor of their choosing who's going to say you're incapacitated and that you have frontal lobe dementia when you really don't. Y'all, I need your help. Subscribe to my channel. Share this. I know this was a long read, but like I said, sometimes you got to go back before you can go forward. And this has been going on for a long, long time. There has been a transfer of wealth right in the courthouses of the courts in New York, Georgia. When I went down that rabbit hole of deed theft, I saw the same thing happening. Deeds being transferred. All type of skullduggery going on where, you pay your taxes and then send a tax bill to send a tax check back and then auction off your house. These are some of the skullduggery that's going on in our courthouses, in our clerks of court, in our judicial buildings where there's a standard. And I'm here to say, you judges and lawyers, nurses, doctors who are being held at a standard, you're not going to get away with this forever. You're never going to get away with it. You had your time. Just read the account of King Nebuchadnezzar. That was written for all of us, but especially for you people in those positions of power. He went mad for 7 years because he was so prideful. He did things that he should not have done. He tried to do things to manipulate and to cause harm to people. And what happened to him? No one could stop what God was going to do. So I'm here to say, this is just a warning. This is going to end. It is absolutely going to end. The transfer of wealth was done illegally. It was done using the law, but it was done illegally. And it's a crying shame. It's still going on today. I want to thank, I don't know if Joe Calderon is still alive. This is from the Village Voice. I've been digging. Let me be very clear. I've been screen recording articles because right before my eyes, articles were disappearing off the internet. They scrub the internet, y'all. They will scrub the internet of names, times, dates, so you can't pull this stuff up. And that's why I do need your help, because this stuff takes time. As I was looking at an article, there was one particular article that named names. It disappeared, but I screen recorded it. And I'm going to show you the screen recording so you can see, because I can't get back to it on the internet, but I still have it to show you it existed because I screenshot it. Not shot it, but screen recorded. This is wicked. It's sinister. And you guys and women who are a part of this should be ashamed of yourself. It's going to end. They said we wrestle not against flesh and blood. This has been going on for so long. And it's going to end. And all of this will be exposed. This is the grift that's been going on. Everybody you see that's in their houses, they're not getting it because this is generational wealth or old money. No, it's old money because they done stole it from somebody who was older and who worked hard and paid for their stuff. Poor Miss Elsie Perry said, please just give me somebody that's going to be good to me and not take me. They did, made her use her Social Security money to pay rent in her own paid off house. My next video, I'm going to show you what Sterling Place looks like. It's probably worth millions of dollars right now. I wonder who's in it. I wonder if Mr. Randall's in it. Shame on you judges, lawyers, doctors, nurses, court clerks. Shame on you. Shame on you. You thought you could get away with it. You did a lot of people dirty. People are looking at Wendy like this is a situation that's just happening. It's not talked about because this stuff is done under the auspice of the law with judges. Not every judge is corrupt. Not every lawyer is corrupt, but there's a racket out here and it's all going to be exposed. And there's nothing you can do. You can't keep the top on it. It's out in the open now. Wendy, I guess, will become the spokesperson and the poster child of what happens with these guardianships. And this is happening every day with elder abuse. She said that in the place where she's at is 80 and 90-year-old people in locked wards. It's disgusting. You security guards, if you are a part of this, I would just advise you to go find another job. Because when this stuff starts to get investigated, all heads are going to roll. That means from the rooter to the tutor, from the person cleaning up the patient to the nurse to the doctor writing the script or writing a forged diagnosis, on up to you judges. Shame on you. You thought you could get away with it, but it's not going to continue forever. All good and some bad things come to an end. And you stolen from innocent people and they have no recourse. But I tell you, the God that I serve is going to serve y'all up something that you're not going to be able to do anything about. So you won't be able to call your old cronies, your frat brothers, or nobody. It's just going to come out. Give these people, if there's living relatives, give them back their property. Anyway, y'all, I need your help. Share this. Subscribe to my channel. And I'm going to put my Cash App for whatever you want to donate, because this research, if you are a true crimer, or the research takes a lot. But we need to expose this, and I want you guys to share it on your channels, big and small. This is not right. This is not fair. It's disgusting. And these people are walking around here in esteemed positions, stealing. And I believe that he said, he didn't say it, Mr. Randall, the judge is going to get me a house. Maybe there's people in the courts now saying the same thing. The judge is going to get me a house. Let me see. Let me go look through the court records and see if somebody's 90 years old with no relatives with a lot of equity in their house and the house is paid off. Let's target them. Guys, this has been Monique Speaks and Reaction. Shout out to everybody in Brooklyn, Crown Heights, Bed-Stuy, Do or Die, Flatbush. Many people have had their property stolen. And we're going to talk about it. My next video, I'm going to show you what that apartment building looks like on Sterling Place. Yeah, the one that Mr. Randall got from the judge. Judge has since, retired. But this is still going on. Ask Wendy Williams. All right, y'all. Peace. And I'm out.